Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Dear learners, I welcome you in this course Research and Publication Ethics. So today I will be discussing on research and publication analytics. In this discussion we will try to understand about the journal finder tools, how to use them for the publication process. My name is Dr. Nirbhay Kumar Mishra. I am an assistant professor at the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences at JLA University, Mathura. So before we go further to understand this session, let's try to understand what we discussed in the last session. So we learned about the method of demonstration based learning. That's a very important idea because in the third segment of this course, as we are progressing towards learning the software tools and the website, web pages, how to understand about the research tools, how to use them for research and development, we need to understand that these days research is more about using these resources and open access resources that we have been discussed. So demonstration based learning involves researchers in using these online software tools. So we discussed about the open access initiatives and resources. We comprehended the impact of open access projects in developing countries and the open access resource development in India. We also learned through demonstration about the BioLine project, JGate project, the public project and several other projects. Then we also demonstrated the Sherpa Romeo online service to check publisher copyrights, self-archiving rights, licensing and the other publication policies. In the end, we tried to analyze through the demonstration again the UGC CARE system to check predatory publications, and we also briefly understood the two group of the careless journals. So what learners will understand after this session? Today we will try to understand about the research and publication analytics. So they will come to know about this idea. Then they will also understood how to make the preparation for the publication process. Then they also understand what are the fitness conditions for the standard publications. We will be discussing some conditions, and then they will also understand how to use journal finder tools. They will understand about the specifications and features of journal finder tools. In this way we will be discussing and learner will understand about the UGC CARE system, Zane system, that is Journal Author Name System, Springer, Elsevier, Sage, IEEE Explore, Emerald, Wiley, Taylor and Francis and Indaz. Learner will understood the importance of journal finder tools. Learner will understand the specifications and all the options available online, how to use them, what are the benefits of them. So today's session will be benefiting learners in order to develop the research publication analytics. So before we start the session and try to understand about the journal finder tools, let's try to develop from the very fresh researchers perspective that we have established in the beginning of these lectures. And now we are also talking about the demonstration based learning. So today we are involving both a fresh researcher's perspective and demonstration based learning. So let's try to understand what I mean by the research publication analytics. First of all, analytics is always using the method, tools and all the analytical factors available online about the journals, about the research, about the reputation, about the indexing, about the impact. All these factors comes to make certain analysis, and that is the way a researcher has to train himself or herself, and that's where a fresh researcher has to evolve in terms of author's research awareness, what I call author's research awareness. This is the very point we have to understand today. What is author's research awareness? First of all, research practice is not only about reading papers, okay, or books. It's also about understanding how research is published, what are the online resources, what are the tools to check the standards, to check the journal's authenticity, and to check all the factors, all the analytical factors which involve to make a quality standard publication. So first of all, we have to focus on the author's research awareness. A fresh researcher or author who is writing the publication must be aware about these websites, these services, like we discussed yesterday about the Romeo Sherpa, we discussed about the open access services, how an author can publish one's article without charge, without APCs. So, again, author has to consult with the language editing services, or author must know about the journal services, editors, policies, journal policies, and the author must know how to check the predatory publications, as we analyzed yesterday through the UGC CARE system, and we also analyzed the same thing through the Romeo Sherpa, and also we used the JGate service, and we also use directory of Open Journal. So these are the services, these are the online tools, these are the online methods by which author has to be aware himself or herself, because the present age research demands what one has to use the online resources. Okay, so first factor in this analytics is to author must have the research awareness. Author must understand the analytical factors of using in the research, in the development of the paper. Okay, let's say if when author starts writing a paper, research paper, okay, the very first thing he has to target the journal, right? And then the very first thing is that aim and scope of the journal. Author must know where he or she has to publish the paper. He must have this awareness. It's not that you complete the paper and then you target the journal. If you are targeting journal, if you are targeting particular research audience, you must know them very well. You must know the journal. You must know the aims and scope of the journal, and that's where you can go through online checking their aims and scope and their policies. So that is a point we have to understand. Author must have the research awareness, and then from this kind of research awareness, author should move to the publication preparedness, what I call. That's the second stage. Okay, now when you're preparing a publication, you're writing a paper, right? So you must understand how to write it properly. If you're targeting a particular journal, what are the norms of journal, what is the formatting style, what are the publication criteria, okay, and what are the other policies, what are the other factors. So these factors are this kind of analytics is very important during the publication preparedness process. Okay, an author has to be prepared. So these analytics are very important as I'm defining, and then in the publication preparedness, author has to involve fully with understanding of the journal factors, norms, language requirements, and again then author has to move to understand the journal analytics in terms of the journal's reputation, impact factor, indexing, and the publication period, time, that we will be discussing in this course further also. So that is the point we have to understand, that research publication analytics these days are very demanding, and author or a fresh researcher has to train fully in that in order to ensure not the quality of publication, but ensuring that the publication is going through standard guidelines, and he or she is targeting a standard publication, and that will result that will be resulting in a quality good publication. That's why research publication analytics is very important these days. Now when we start the publication preparation process, there are many steps we have to involve with. Okay, so we will try to recall certain steps that a fresh researcher or author has to take before he starts submitting a paper into a journal repository. Okay, so we can see, first of all, author must ensure before submitting a paper to a journal, right? Approval and consent. Author must have all kind of approvals. Okay, suppose it's about the clinical triage, or it's about the patent, or it's about any other case study. If it has to take the approval, ethical approvals from certain agencies, national, international, local, then author must have those approvals, because after all, journal will ask for those approvals also, right? So if you don't have approval, you cannot go further in the process of submitting a paper. So try to understand, author must have approvals before he submits a paper to a journal, and then author must have a consent. Okay, so that is an informed consent, right? Consent in terms of the consent in terms of the, suppose if there are 1, 2, 3 authors are working on a paper, so all should be have proper consent of their roles and contributions. There should not be any kind of conflict of interest in them, and author should have the consent from the other review boards and committees. So approval and consent is very important step before you make an application. You must be sure about it. And then second factor, which is very important during the publication preparation process, that is data accuracy. You must check your data, that what kind of data you are supporting with your publication and submitting to the journal. That data should be authenticated data. It should not be plagiarized data. It should not be falsified data. It should not be fabricated data, because these days journals have very standard high definition tools to check all this kind of unethical publication practices. So journals, good journals, 10 journals always go through this kind of checks and balances. So author must ensure that data is accurate and the study is not through any kind of unethical measures. Okay, so you must check about the plagiarism, you must check about the self-plagiarism, you must check about the falsification, fabrication of data. So that you should not use any fake data. Okay, there should not be any deficiency in terms of the data. Even you must prepare the data files in case if journal asks to submit the data or sheet or any kind of supporting document, you must be ready with that. Okay, so that not delaying any further publication process. That's the importance of the data accuracy, falsification and fabrication. Coming to the plagiarism and self-plagiarism. Look, whenever you write a paper, right, and you use the other resources, other materials, as I told you, if you don't cite it properly, if you don't give the credit to the resources of the others which are using in your publication, okay, preparation, so you commit the plagiarism. So you should not commit any kind of plagiarism. And for checking the plagiarism, there are plagiarism tools that we will be discussing in the further lectures. Like we can have the Turnitin, we can use the Orcon. These are the plagiarism check tools which actually ensures you the level of plagiarism, percentage of similarity. So similarity you can check, plagiarism you can check, right, when you use the other resources. But you must be self-aware also. You are using the resources from the other papers, other data, so you must give the proper credit, due credit, so that you can avoid the idea of plagiarism. And self-plagiarism, of course, when you use your own paper that you have already published, but you don't cite that, okay, so that is a self-plagiarism. You must cite all the papers very carefully to avoid this plagiarism problem. Okay, so any figure, any table, any material, whatever the piece of material you use in your research development or you use in the article development process, you must check it that you have given the proper due credit, you have all properly mentions all the table figures and all the data with due credit. So that you have to be ensured about it. Now when we further move, it is about submission fraud. Like you must not try to submit the same paper at the same time without having any rejection or final declaration to two different journals. Okay, that's usually scholars do, but that's the unethical practice. We should not commit the submission fraud. Okay, submitting the multi journals the same script. Okay, and then you should not commit the salami slicing. Like you have a big data and you're cutting that one big data into different pieces and you're generating 4 or 5 different studies and you are publishing one big data in terms of 4 or 5 different publication, and that's what we know. It is called the salami slicing, we have understood in the earlier lectures. So you must not commit the salami slicing also. Overlapping publication should not be there, okay, or any kind of fraud publication. And there you must be very very careful, very aware about it, that when you submit a paper you must check the whether that paper should not be a predatory journal. It should not be a, you are not submitting to a predatory journal, and that's where you can use the UGC care system. There are 2 group of clone journalists. If you are sending any paper from the India, you can go through and check the UGC care system, or you can go through DOAJ, Directory of Open Access Journals. There you can find all the authentic extended journal list. Again, you can use all the standard publishers like Elsevier, like Springer, like the Emerald, Sage, Taylor and Francis. Everywhere you can check that and ensure that the journal is not a predatory journal. And again, the service that we have analyzed yesterday, that is Sherpa and Romeo service, that's very important service where you can actually check all the facts and documents about the journals, when it is started, what is the license policy, what is copyright policy, and what are the open access policy, and where it is registered, what are the legal facts also. So Romeo and Sherpa service allows you to check these all facts. And then you can use through DOAR also. You can check the repositories, research repositories, you can locate them geographically. So a huge range of analytics and data and resource services are available online. You must be aware about them. That's why in this segment of this course we are emphasizing on the impact of this using online resources for the research development, and we are going through demonstration based training so that the fresh researcher and the authors can train themselves to aware about the research analytics, and they can ensure themselves in terms of meeting the standards, and they can have the quality publication in the end. So further we move to ethics of authorship, as we have discussed already, and we have also analyzed through the case studies while discussing about the publication ethics, that when you write a paper, suppose you are writing paper with 2 or 3 authors, so everyone's contribution must be clear. Even if you submit a paper to a journal, there is a specific section where you have to mention what is your contribution, what is the contribution of the first author, what is the contribution of the second author, what is the contribution of the all other author. You must understand the idea of corresponding author, okay. So there should not be any kind of conflict amongst the authors, and you must understand what is the role of first author, what is the criteria of the first author, what is the criteria of the corresponding author, so that you are not going to face any problem further. Like I discussed in one case study where one author submits the publication and it is published, and after publication the corresponding author requests the journal to change the corresponding author, and that creates big mess for the journal publisher also. So we need to avoid such cases. In order to avoid these cases, ensure the standards, and we should ensure the ethics of authorship also, and then in the end that is a conflict of interest. These things we have to avoid properly, that we should not have any conflict amongst the author with the reviewer, with the editor, or any kind of conflict we can see in terms of the international national agencies, approval committees. Okay, so there we have to check and ensure, because these all processes are very necessary process. Whatever we are discussing over here, they are the very important process, okay, from the approval and consent to data accuracy to plagiarism, self-plagiarism, submission frauds, and ethics of authorship and conflict of interest. These are the pre stage of publication we have to ensure before we submit to any journal, and that's where we have to understand the importance of this process. Now let's go to understand through the demonstration that we are using this method of learning. So what are the important factors when you submit a paper? What kind of documents you require, what kind of clarity you require, what kind of standards you must check and you read before you publish a paper. So let's go through this demonstration, and I'm using for this teaching and learning purpose this Sage document about the manuscript submission guideline. So after discussing the publication checklist, let's go ahead to discuss what are the manuscript submission guideline. So I am using here for the teaching and learning process this says document. Okay, so as you can see here that there are submission guidelines. Okay, so it involves 7 different steps, right? So pre-submission, helping readers find your article, that we will also discussing further. We check how to submit your articles. Okay, here what are the conditions, what are the editorial policies, okay, what are the licensing, where this journal is listed. Okay, so you an author must read these all things. Okay, what is the for the submitting to technical or medical journals, there are different norms, different things. Journal editors board and guidelines are there, corresponding author, what is the role of corresponding author, right, and what is a third party submission. So these are the recommendations, everything is going on here. So before you submit the paper to this journal, you must first scroll these all options and you must read them carefully before you submit. Okay, so when you submit your article, right, let's yeah, so here you have the editorial policies also, you can discuss this policies also here, right. So you must understand these are the steps, these are the factors which are very important factors when you make decisions to submit a paper in a journal. You must go through these all steps, right. You must have a one good read you are to the target journal. Okay, so first you must read about the editorial policy. What is the peer review policy? What is the process of peer review? It will be a blind peer review, double blind peer review, and how many peer reviewers you require to submit while submitting the paper in the repository. What is the rules of authorship? How to make the acknowledgements in the paper? What are the research ethics and patent consent? So here you see the authorship rules are also given here. You can read for yourself for your understanding. Okay, and then yes, and then you can have acknowledgements where you have to make the acknowledgement. What is the proper format of acknowledgement when you acknowledge anybody's contribution in your research development, right? Other than the authorship, you acknowledge the other resources, funding resources. So you must know how to use them and how to write them in a proper format of the journal, right? And then you have to understand about the research ethics and the patent guidelines. Suppose you are submitting a clinical trials, your paper is based on clinical trials or patents or any other thing which require a kind of certain guidelines. So you have to follow certain bodies like ICMJE requirements, all trial campaigns. So these are some bodies, these are some research ethics you must require and you must ensure before submit your paper, right? And then you must understand what is clinical trials, you must understand the reporting guidelines here, okay, and then you must understand the publishing policies. What is publication ethics? You must understand what is the publication ethics, right? What is plagiarism? We have discussed already here, right? What is the plagiarism? What is the previous distribution or publication, contributions, publishing agreement, okay? So these all things about the licensing, you must understand the whole thing, okay? And you must read these documents carefully before you publish, before you submit your paper to the journal, right? And then you must understand the contributors publishing agreement. You must understand the open access and the author archiving, right? When you prepare your manuscript, right, you must understand how to format. Open access agreement is given here through the Creative Commons license, right? You must read the open license page also in order to have the better clarity regarding the open access criteria, okay? So this thing available you can read on the journal's page, okay, when you need. Okay, but these are the steps you must understand it very well. These are the factors of analysis. What I mean by the research analytics, when you analyze the publication process, when you analyze the standards of the journal, these are the factors you must go through and read properly, right? And then you must understand the formatting. That's a very important thing. Preparing your manuscript. When you prepare your manuscript, it's not that you have prepared your manuscript and you are targeting journal. Before you target the journal, you must go through these all important factors, these all important. That's what I mean by the research publication analytics. Okay, one author must train in that, researcher must train in that. Okay, so you must understand about the formatting style. Okay, what are the guidelines, what are font size, what are the latex guideline, how to involve the figure tables, what are the art guideline work. So these all things are well clearly mentioned, right? you can use them over here, right? And then after that, art guidelines, image integrity, that's we have discussed earlier also, that the most fabrication cases of the unethical publication practice are found in terms of image integrity, right? In terms of, that we tame with the image, right? And we falsify the data through the image, we fabricate data through the image. So image frauds are very much common cases in terms of fraud publications, and that we must avoid. So we have to maintain image integrity, and we have to understand the image standards, and we should read what are the image standards before we use and submit for the publication. Okay, so these guidelines are always available here on the journal page. You must understand them and you must read them before you submit the paper, right? And then you have the SEJ author services. These are important services here. Suppose an author is struggling with the formatting or struggling with the other things like language services are there, right? You can use these language services, right? And editing services are also available with the most of the journals. So if you are unable to do that, you can take these services, advantage of these services, because if your language is poor or if editing is poor, then there are it diminishes the chances of the acceptance and increases the chances of rejection. So avoiding rejection and ensuring acceptance, you can use some journal services, right? They are also good for the research development. Okay, so then we come to the how to submit the manuscript. So here we see the title criteria, how you write the title, how you have to write the keywords, and what is the length of the abstract. Okay, how to involve with the video abstract, because these days most of the journals, they require the graphical abstract and they require the video abstract also. So we have to understand these policy and norms through studying this page. Okay, and then you have to understand the ORC ID. Okay, this ID is very required for the all researchers, because most of journals, they ask for this ORCID ID, because you can directly submit a paper if you have the ID, and you can use this ID and you can directly transfer to the public submission pages, right? So again, in the end, you understand about the acceptance and publication, how it is produced, okay, and what are the licenses and copyrights that you have to transfer to the journal. So what I mean by over here, not only publication ethics, but these are technical requirements. There are ethical requirements, publication requirements, technical requirements, and these all requirements, these are kind of what I mean by the research and publication analytics. That is very important these days in order to ensure your publication is going to be a standard publication. You choose a standard publisher and the output will be very definitely good. And you have to understand these factors. You must know at least one time, you must practice and you must understand. And before you write the paper, you target the journal, you read the aims and scope of the journal, and further we will try to understand what are the other factors when we select the journal, right? So further we will try to understand what are the fitness factors for the publication. When we choose a journal, what are the factors we must take care, other than this technical, ethical, and the scholarly academic requirements that a researcher fulfills, right? After that, a researcher must be much aware about these factors also when you target a journal. So there are several factors which make an impact in the publication process. Very first factor is the journal reputation. When you target journal, you must understand the reputation in terms of the history of the journal. You must go through the history of the journal. You must go to the audience, scientific audience of the journal, okay, and the other things. So you must explore about the journal's reputation before you target journal. And the second point, which is very important, it is about the open access or closed access public. Okay, you must understand whether you are targeting a journal as an open access journal or a closed access journal. We have done this exercise, how to explore open access journal through DOAJ also. Okay, so through that online service, you can ensure whether your journal is open access or closed access, and you must understand what are the publication charges. And then you must understand about the aims and scope of the journal. So when you start writing your paper, right, first you understand that your paper is with the very aim and scope of the journal before you submit. Otherwise, most of the rejections are the cases where you don't meet the very aim and scope of the journal and you submit without knowing, because you don't work on the research analytics, right. So then after that aim and scope, we have to focus on the indexing part. Okay, we should check whether the journal is Scopus index journal, SCI index journal, Web Science journals, or the SJR. Okay, SJR is SciMago journal country ranking, that's available on the website. You can check SciMago ranking also on the net. Okay, you can check on the scopus.com whether the journal is listed in Scopus or not. Okay, so this indexing is a very important criteria these days for ensuring the standard of publication. So a researcher must understand about the indexing. And then ranking and reputation. What is the rank of the journal? What is the reputation of journal? And then we must understand the impact factor. Okay, what is the impact factor of the journal? Impact factor, we understand that depends on the publication quantity and the citation, right? So that ensures the impact factor. So impact factor is also a major important that comes under the fitness factor. Okay, and that affect the publication. And then we have the site score also. Okay, site score tells about the citations of the articles published in the journal. So these are several factors that we have to understand very well when we go for the publication process. And then you must understand about the target audience. You must understand about the journal must have the effective editorial board, right? They are competent editors. Suppose you are sending a paper to a journal, scientific journal, and editorial board is filled with the non-scientific people, right? So of course they cannot ensure the editorial board criteria. Then a journal must follow the effective peer review process, right? So to ensure that the publication paper check is going through a qualitative team. Okay, and then peer review must be very unbiased, double blind peer reviewed system should be there, right, followed, and it should be through the quality reviewers, those are competent in the subjects. Okay, and then you must check about the copyright policy, license, and the other policies that you can check, as I told you, through using the Sherpa Romeo services, Juliet services. Okay, and then you must understand the journal circulation, right, whether the journal is very popular and subscribed by the libraries, because then the readers are there to read the journals, and online subscription is also there. So these are the factors we have to understand. These are very major and important factors for the publication process. After that, we have to understand the scope and publishing history. You must go through all the issues of the journal. Okay, and you must check about the scope of the journal. You must then the important factor is that the publishing time, how much time the journal takes for the publication, manuscript turnaround time, when you submit, when the first decision comes, when the acceptance takes place, when the total publication time takes, because it actually affects your publication process, because most of the standard journal you see, they take almost 1 year for the publication. So you must ensure that when you need publication, what is the time limit and what is the general criteria, and then you must understand what is the quality of the journal in terms of the acceptance and rejection rate of the journal, how many papers are accepted. Maybe acceptance rate is 12%, okay, and it means out of 112 papers are accepted. So rejection rate you must understand, and most importantly is the factor that you must check that the journal should not be a clone journal, it should not be a predatory journal, and that's where we can utilize the resources like UGCK system, and we can utilize other resources like Sherpa Romeo, and we can utilize the other also predatory check resources available on the online, and that's where research awareness is very necessary. So let's move to the further section, journal finder tool. These days, when you have to find a journal, most of the time we are connected with the online resources. So what we do, before we write a paper, we try to find a suitable journal, and that's where you find many journal finder services. They give you the exact analysis of your choice of the journal. They give you exact analysis in terms of your abstract, in terms of the timeline, in terms of the impact factor, in terms of the other analytics that we will analyze through the demonstration exercise. So we see these days there are many journal finder tools like Elsevier, Springer, Sage, Terra Francis, Web Science, Willy. So we'll try to analyze these some standard journal find tools today in order to make us aware how to use them, in order to understand about their specification, in order to understand how they help a researcher in order to make the decision for a fit and standard publication. So today we are going to analyze several online tools which have been developed for helping the researchers. Okay, so for the further session we are going to demonstrate on the standard online online services to find the suitable and right journal. So let's go to demonstrate first of all the UGC CARE system, which is developed to help the scholars write. So we will try to analyze. Okay, in the India most of the universities they accept UGC CARE list publications. So when you have to find a suitable journal, how to use the system. Okay, so as I told you, there are two group lists available here, UGC CARE list group 1 and UGC CARE list group 2. So let's try to understand how to find a suitable journal by using this service. Okay, so first when we use the UGC group 1 list, okay, so now see here when we go through this UGC CARE list 1, so you can see if you are a scholar from science, research of science, so there are 275 journals are available over here. If you are working in the area of social science, there are 313 journals are available here. If you are working in the art and humanities, there are 371 journals available here. And if you are doing in the multidisciplinary research or interdisciplinary research, you can explore these 50 multidisciplinary journals. Okay, and if you are working in the language, there are 305 Indian languages journals available over here. Okay, so let's start how to find a suitable journal. So when you press here on select, you see either you can find in terms of title, okay, title of the journal, and then see this two lists are authentic list. Okay, here you can ensure that you are targeting standard authenticate journal, right, and either you use the title of any journal, or you use the ISSN number, or you use the publisher number, or you just use the subject. Let's use a subject. Suppose you use the subject, here you have to enter the search value. Let's say if I am a scholar from the management, right, and I have to publish in the management. So let's try to find out. Look, so when you search, write the management search value, so you see you have the list of these journals available here, right, like African Journal of Accounting, Auditing and Finance, Ames Journal of Management, okay, American Journal of Business. So when you scroll down, so you see 77 journals are available here, okay, till the end. If you go, water science also comes under the management journals. So here you can ensure the journals, they are quality standard journals, you can find them and you can choose them. Okay, and not only this, here you see you can ensure the ISN number, okay, EISN number, publisher you can ensure, and you can also ensure whether this journal is indexed in Scopus or not, or it is not a case of discontinued journal. Okay, and if you view any journals, okay, when you go to the view page, you find all these kind of things, right. You find the journal title, publication language, publisher, ISN number, ESN number, discipline, subject, and focus subject also is there, right. And let me click over here. When you click on the now you can go through directly on the journal page also. That's a wonderful system developed by the UGC for the old researchers. You can ensure standards, and you can ensure the all the facts, and you can go directly on the web page of the journal. Okay, so here you can read all the submission guidelines that we have discussed already, open access fees funding process. These all important things are for the publication process, right. So that's group 1 list we have just ensure, right. So now move ahead. Now this is a group 1 list. Okay, here you can search about the journals and subject. Now there is one more group 2 list. Okay, here the list is available that involves the Web of Science data and Scopus data. So here you find all journals from the Art and Humanities Citation Index, Social Citation Index, Social Science Citation Index, okay, in the Web of Science, and you also find the Scopus source list. Okay, so when you click this, you see it takes you to the Web of Science page, and here you can explore your journal again in terms of choosing the subject. Okay, so here again you have the these are the different analytics you can use to find a match. Even you can find a match. Okay, and you can create a login, and then you can search the journal. So this is the one way of finding a suitable journal by using the UGC CARE system. Let's move to the other tool finder, which is known as JANE, Journal Author Name Estimator. Okay, let's go to understand about the Springer Journal Suggester, right? So here we come to this Springer Journal Suggester. That's very important. Yeah, that's very important document. Okay, when you go on this page, okay, first you see there's one page opens here where you have to write the manuscript title, manuscript test. Okay, so I will be using one abstract and title for the teaching learning process. Let me do that. Okay, yes. Here I am using the research abstract. Okay, so anything you can take over here, just write. Okay, like COVID-19 papers. Okay, yes. So here you see some papers are there. Okay, I am just taking the the abstract and the other things to make you aware how to use this features on the Springer Journal Suggester. Okay, yes. So when you prepare a paper, right, any paper, right, you must have your abstract ready. You write an abstract. Okay, so when you write an abstract and you give it title, okay, so after analyzing the UGC CARE system, let's try to analyze the other journal finder system like JANE, Journal Author Name Estimator. Okay, yes. So when we go through this JANE, so JANE is Journal Author Name Estimator. That's also very good service. Okay, here you can do again what you're supposed to do. First of all, you have to insert your title or abstract here. So as we can simply go here. Okay, so yeah, we just copy the abstract. Any abstract you can choose. Going through online, you can go for when you prepare your paper, you have a ready abstract for yourself, right? I'm just using for the teaching learning process this abstract from here, copying over here. You have to paste your abstract what you have prepared for the publication, right, to have the fed process. So now here when you paste this abstract, now abstract has come. Okay, so when you post the abstract over here, then you click over here, find the journals. Okay, now this service starts over here. You can see now JANE has given you a huge range of list over here, right? So your abstract is fit to publish in these all journals. Okay, and here you can see the indexing is also there. So when you click on the Medline index, right, this journal is currently indexed in Medline, so was reviewed by NLM at some point. Okay, so you received all the authenticate data through the JANE, right, and again you received the article influence also. Okay, even you can search when you want to publish and target this journal, you can search over here the article. Okay, when you search this article like COVID-19 current understanding of its pathophysiology, clinical presentation and treatment. Okay, so when you click over here, right, you can find these things. Citation, the citation is also there. So using JANE is also a very nice service where you give the huge range of journals all available, and you see the indexing is also given, and you find the article influence is also there. You can have the articles available over here. So JANE is the first journal finder service we are using over here. Okay, and when you see click here, you can clear here and you can insert other abstract also, or when you go through this, so extra options. Now that's the very interesting idea. Now these days, as I told you, the huge range of analytics available when you choose your journal, and when you want to ensure that whether your paper is fit for this publication or not. So you have these all working options over here for your publication. Okay, so first you can choose your language. Okay, whether you are publishing in English or French or German, Italian, Japanese, Russian, Spanish. Suppose you are publishing in the English language, right? And then you have to choose what you want to publish. Okay, so Jane is more about the medical journals. Okay, so see, it works in the, now you can choose your preference after choosing the language. On the left hand side you have two options. First you can choose the language, and then you can choose your options, open access options, right? So when you see the open access, you can search only open access journals, and you can exclude open access, or you can have the no preferences. So it gives you three different preferences to select the journal, right? Choose the journal. You can have open journals, okay, no choice. You can search only open access journals, and you can exclude open access journals. Okay, when you go through the no access, and again here you are having these all analytics available, right? So you want to describe, you have to describe your manuscript, right? Whether your manuscript is a case report, or it is a classical article, or it is a clinical trial, or it's a trial in phase 1, 2, 3, 4, or it's a comparative study, or it's a controlled clinical trial, or it is an evaluation study, in vitro, it's a journal article, or it's a letter, it's a meta-analysis, it's a multi-center study, it's a randomized controlled trial, or it's a review, or it's a twin study, or it's a validation study. So Jane actually gives you these all analytics to ensure that you are going to have a very clear cut criteria for your publication, and that's very interesting service, I would say. All researchers must aware about it, right? So let's try to understand how to further use it. So let's say you have the classical articles, right, and you have given the language preference English, and let's say you give the preference open access, because nowadays open access has got the prominence and importance, and most of researchers, they actually look for the open access, right? And most of open access are there in the open access domain, so it actually increases the citation also, readability of also. So suppose you select the English language, and you select the open access journal, and you select the classical article, and here you have also one more criteria, that is PubMed Center. Okay, so if you choose the no preference, or you can have the preference like only journals with immediate access, right, or only journals with a maximum access delay of 12 months, only journals in PubMed Center. Suppose you don't take any preference, and now you find. Okay, so classical articles. Okay, so let's go further. Okay, and here you have to write again. Okay, so here you have to, yeah, now look, now you again see the refined report here by the Jane. Now you again see that you have a list. Okay, there you can ensure that your paper is fit for this journals, because you have used certain analytics to understand, and these are the open access journals, high quality open access journal, which have very good influence also. And here you can also check the articles, and you can check also the citation also. So Jane is a wonderful service, I would say, for all the scholars. So now we are analyzing this journal author name estimator. Okay, and that's wonderful service we have already discussed over here. So we are using one abstract. You can use your own abstract also for analyzing these all services. Okay, so here what you can do, you can find the journals, you can find authors, you can find articles also, right? Suppose we have to find one article, right, and that is published here. Let's say we go and just find any article. Okay, you may have the list ready. You want to check that article, okay, is available on PubMed or not. So let me go through again. Okay, that suppose you have to find articles on, medical ethics. Okay, right. Any area of research you can choose, any article you can choose. Okay, you may have the article, you want to ensure whether it's article authentic article or not. Okay, or you can choose article in the Google from your area of research. Okay, so suppose we choose this article, right? Yes, so now it's giving the journal list. Okay, so we here choose the papers. Okay, right. Suppose this article we choose, right? And we try to find the article over here. Okay, so yes, so on the COVID-19, you see, if we choose the subject COVID-19 and medical ethics, we can have this list ready for all the article. So Jane service can be utilized, this function can be utilized in terms of you can find authors, you can find journals, and you can find articles. And when you use the extra options, these are very important options as we have discussed. You can choose the language, you can have the open access preferences, you can choose if suppose you want to have the case reports, you are working in the case reports, say you are working in the hospital management or you are working in the hospitality management, so you can choose the case report also, right? And you can find the articles in terms of the case report. So see, here you see the case reports are given. Okay, even you can have the check citations also. So COVID-19 related mortality during management of a hepatic abscess. So look, there's a hospital management case studies available for you. So that's a wonderful resource, Jane, and all scholars must understand the value of this author journal finder service. It's not only journal finder service, it's also author find service, it's also article find service. It also gives you several other analytics, as I explained you very well. These are important analytics when you prepare a paper, right? And these are important criteria when you choose your journal. Open access, close access, right, and PubMed Central, right, when the journal will be available, what is the time duration, and these factors are very also important. Okay, so for today we have analyzed 2 journal finder practices. So in the next lecture we will carry on with some more important journal finder practices, and we will analyze, we will understand the specifications, the characteristics, and how they are important in the publication process, finding a journal, and choosing the particular paper for the research development. So in the next lecture I will be completing these all. So let's come to the summary part, what we have discussed so far in this session. Today we will try to analyze the research publication analytics, how to use several factors which impact on the research, and what it demands. It demands that author must have the research awareness. He must have the publication preparedness, right? He must understand the publication ethics. He must go through the manuscript guidelines very well, and then he must understand about the journal analytics. What are those factors? Okay, and then we also try to analyze about the publication fitness conditions. Okay, factors. There we understood there are factors like journal's reputation, publication process, publication time and decisions, journal's ranking, impact factor, and policies. And then we will try to analyze also the journal finder tools like UGC, CARE, Zane, Springer's, Elsevier, Emerald, Sage, Willy, Taylor and Francis, IEEE Explore and Indaze. So some of the services we have analyzed, and some of the services we'll try to analyze in the next session. So these are the references that I have used to prepare these lectures. These are important websites, online services which you can go through and you can utilize for the publication development and writing your paper or choosing a quality journal. Thank you.